Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sweeptrack back channel. Today I want to dive into the wall of sound, a groundbreaking production technique pioneered in the 60s. This method has a lot in common with the layering techniques we use today, especially in electronic and pop music. Now, just to be clear, this isn't a tutorial. This is more of a deep dive into the history and concept behind this iconic technique. I'll also show you how I try to apply it on a much smaller scale. To truly understand the wall of sound, we need to travel back to the 60s, when the American producer Phil Spector was experimenting with a new approach. His goal was to create a powerful, rich sound that felt big and immersive, but without introducing distortion by simply increasing the volume. His solution: layering multiple instruments to create an almost orchestral arrangement within a standard band setup. Instead of using just one guitar or piano, Spector would stack multiple versions of the same instrument playing the same parts. It was uncommon for him to use a lot of guitars, 3 or more pianos, 2 basses, full horn and string sections, and sometimes even 2 drums. This approach creates a huge immersive sound, prioritizing a thick overall texture rather than individual instrument clarity. If you listen to music from the 70s onward, this kind of layering feels normal, but that's only because Spector and other producers laid the groundwork. Spector's wall of sound relied on 3 techniques: layering, multiple instruments playing the same parts together, heavy use of reverb, achieved by recording in large echo chambers, mono mixing, blending all elements into one unified sound instead of separating them in stereo. Back then, major recording studios weren't just investing in new technology, they were also experimenting. Some of the biggest studios were building and improving their own echo chambers, allowing producers like Spector to push their sound even further. By recording musicians inside these echo chambers, he captured natural reverb that enhanced the overall mix. Mixing everything in mono ensured that all sounds blended together seamlessly, emphasizing overall texture rather than individual instruments. Even though technology has advanced, layering is still one of the most common techniques in music production. The idea of combining multiple sounds playing the same parts to create a richer, fuller texture is everywhere. Today, we have access to an unlimited range of sounds thanks to digital production. Depending on your CPU power, you can layer hundreds of instruments and vocals to create a massive, lush sound. With effects like reverb, filters, and delays, you can push it even further, something that Spector never could have imagined with the technology of his time. I wanted to try a scaled-down version of this concept in one of my own projects. Since my PC isn't super powerful, I had to work within some limitations, but I still wanted to capture the thick layered sound. For this example, I chose to rearrange Ayumi Hamazaki's song Boys and Girls. I picked this song because I wanted clear, isolated vocals to work with. Unfortunately, there are official a cappella versions available on YouTube. The drums. Spector often used 2 drum kits playing together to create a fuller rhythm section. To make things more interesting, I used one standard acoustic drum kit and an electronic drum kit using FL Studio's built-in samples. I carefully matched the parts, creating a big, unified drum sound. Then for the bass, instead of just doubling the line, I took a slightly different approach. First bass line, play the root notes of each chord. The second one, play the fifth of each chord, similar to how guitars play power chords. In case you're unfamiliar, the fifth of a chord is 3.5 notes apart from the root. For example, if the root is C, the fifth is G, regardless of whether the chord or scale is major or minor. To make this string section, I split into different parts. 2 violins play one melody in octaves, same notes, different pitches, a counter melody for the violas to add variation, cello and bass doubling the root notes again in octaves. This is pretty standard orchestration, but layering the strings like this made the sound much richer. Next was the keys. For the verses and pre-chorus, I focused on layering keyboards and pad sounds to fill out the space. I started with the 80s style piano as the main layer, then I added 2 synthesizers to create a unique blend of sounds. To keep things interesting, I also added small counter melodies in the verse and pre-chorus, creating variation and movement within the track. For the guitar parts, I used one lightly distorted guitar on the verse and pre-chorus, then I added a second guitar with more distortion in the chorus to add energy. Unfortunately, my PC struggled with processing everything and recording, so I couldn't capture the final parts of the process. But still, the result was much fuller texture sound compared to a typical arrangement. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into wall of sound and how the ideas are still alive in modern productions. If you are curious, you can check out the final version of my track on my main channel. It should be playing on the screen now. Thanks for watching.